Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke Payson, and I am honored to welcome first-time guest of the show, Jermaine Moye, on the show. Welcome, Jermaine.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
I'm really excited to have you on the show. You're known in the Western Pennsylvania area because you played Division I college football for WVU, and then transferred to Cal U to play Division II football, and then you made an MMA debut. I think you were 38 at the time when you made your MMA debut for 247 back last May of 2021, actually 2 years ago now. And it was really exciting to see that. And you're actually on the show today to talk about an upcoming grappling fight for Sprawl in the Burgh. But before we talk about that, that's July 14th. Let's talk about briefly, what was your collegiate football experience like for you? What did you kind of take away discipline-wise and athletically-wise? And what are some of your highlights from your collegiate football experiences?
So yes, before I even jump into that, I would say, it really started at Rochester, where I went to high school. And, I sound like Al Bundy here, but we won 2 state championships. And, Coach Gene Matzook, he instilled discipline in us. And it was, you got to be on time, you got to run, finish the plays. And that's where it really started. It was a mindset, from the beginning. And then whenever I got to West Virginia, like doing the workouts and, doing the sprints and all the different things that we used to have to do, I was already mentally prepared from a physicality standpoint. And it just transitioned right into West Virginia football. And, it actually gave me a significant advantage because, on 90-degree days or 95-degree days, whatever it would be outside, it's kind of crazy because you get guys that they don't get tired in games, but they get very tired whenever, you have camp and the sun's beating down on you. It's a little bit different. So I was mentally prepared for that, back in high school. And as I mentioned, it just transitioned into college football.
And you played on both sides, offense and defense, different years at different times for both WU and Cal U, wide receiver on offense and one of the safety positions on defense. Mentally, what do you see as the difference or the benefits of doing offense and defense? I know from MMA, which you ended up fighting, defensive players tend to transition better because they're reactionary. Offensive players tend to have like game plans and have to stay sort of following like as a wide receiver. So what did you enjoy out of being a wide receiver and a safety?
Well, offense is a little more, strategic because you kind of know where you're going. If I know that I'm running a go route and I know that there's a high safety, I know I either have to sit in a hole if it's cover 2 or, someone's going to, be sitting over top of me. So defensively, you have to kind of figure out what they're doing, where they're going, what formation they're in. Are they lined up on the numbers? Are they on the hash marks? Like there's so many different things that come into play. As far as like which one would I like better, I don't, I just like playing football. I like defense because I like hitting people, but I also didn't mind getting hit either, on the offensive side of the ball. So I think that's a little bit different for most wide receivers. Most people don't really enjoy to get hit. Not that I enjoy getting hit, but I don't mind it. I always had like that physical type of a mentality, even from the time whenever I started playing football. And, that's just kind of, it's kind of how I was raised in the way that I played the game.
And you ended up finishing out your career at Cal U, and there's a good chunk of years there. But what brought you to the Mat Factory? You ended up making your debut back in May of 2021 at I believe it was the double-header event. It was just coming out of COVID, where 247 put on two fights, 2 events in the same day, back to back at the Monroeville Convention Center. You made your debut. What brought you out of being a football guy into the Mat Factory, and then what got you to take that MMA fight a few years ago?
Well, I was training jiu-jitsu, previous to my time at the Mat Factory, down at Ground Zero in Morgantown, West Virginia. And when COVID struck, we were looking to move to the Tampa, Florida area, which is where I'm located now. And some things fell through, didn't quite happen the way that the way that we expected them to. So we ended up moving down in the lower Burgh area where the Mat Factory is located. And it was during COVID, so I had the opportunity to go there. And I just remember the first day that I went, Coach Isaac Greeley, he goes, "We're going to turn you into a fighter." And I just kind of chuckled. I was like, okay, well, whatever. I just know one thing: I'm just going to show up every single day and I'm just going to work. And Isaac is just a very smooth guy. He has his ways to get you over there. So we would always have jujitsu, and then right after jujitsu, there's stand-up practice. And I do believe that there was a larger guy over there, probably like more like my height, and he needed a partner. And Isaac goes, "Jermaine, why don't you go ahead and jump in over there?" And the next thing you know, I'm doing it every Sunday, and then even a little bit more after that. So he would always kind of throw it out there. And I remember I had a wedding that I had to go to in Denver, and he was like, "Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get you on this card, Jermaine," just kind of getting a feeler. And I was like, well, I would do it, but I'm actually going to be in Denver. And I kind of think that he thought I was like maybe scared to do it or whatever, which I was a little nervous because I've never done it before, but I was still open to doing it. I just wasn't sure, if that was going to be the right timing. And later down the road, as I continued to show up and do jujitsu, and then also do the stand-up class as well, I started sparring guys like, Jake Lowry, Trent Zadarko, Dempsey, and you have to get better at fighting if you're going against those types of guys. So he goes, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and get you a fight," and I was like, "All right, cool." So that's kind of how it happened.
And what was like the main takeaway for you? You've obviously performed at very high athletic levels before. Your collegiate, your high school championships, state championships are always a big deal. And then you played at two big colleges. The Division II college you played at, Cal U, was super good at football when you were there, and obviously WVU's nationally known. So for you, making that transition to MMA, what was it like getting from a team sport into that one-on-one sport? And what's the thing you remember now, 2 years removed?
It's a little bit different because if you lose, it's because of you. You can't blame it on anybody else. It's not because somebody else missed the tackle or they didn't throw the ball the way that they were supposed to. If you get in there and you lose, it's literally it's on you. And my preparation for it was, I don't want to say I overtrained, because I'm not really sure if there's such thing, but my mindset was, I kind of painted the picture in my head that I was fighting John Bones Jones, and I wouldn't stand a chance against him, obviously, but in my head, that's who I was going against, because I was like, I want to be ready for anything. If this guy's a striker, if he's going to take me down, or whatever background he might have, I want to make sure that I'm prepared for that. And, obviously with the great coaching at the Mat Factory, and then also going down to Stouts and doing the stand-up as well, I was able to really, fine tune my skills and go in there and be 100% confident. And to be quite honest with you, I actually get more nervous, doing jujitsu tournaments or jujitsu matches than I actually do an MMA fight, because, it's a lot more comforting knowing that if somebody grabs me or puts me in something, that I can throw a punch, opposed to having to try to, wiggle my way out of something. So it was pretty, it was definitely different, but I don't know why I didn't have any like nerves or anything like that coming out. And that kind of worried me too, because I was like, I'm not really nervous or anything, but I was like amped up and excited for the opportunity.
Well, I actually do think that makes a lot of sense, because you performed at the national level before, where there's huge fan groups and a lot of attention on you. So I think that makes a lot of sense. You brought up a very smooth transition to the grappling, and that's why you're on the show tonight, which is incredible having you on for the first time, particularly with your background. It's really great. You had a lot of fans come out to your debut because you're kind of popular in the area. You're now living down in Tampa, Florida. Where are you training, and what made you say yes to Sprawl in the Burgh, which is July 14th, Monroeville Convention Center?
Well, I did know that there was a fight card that weekend, and I called Ryan just to kind of see like what was going on. not necessarily because I wanted to fight. I was just curious to see if there was anything going on. And, you know, Ryan, obviously he's like, oh, you know, I think we can get you on the card. And I'm like, you know what, I don't think that, because I haven't done any stand-up for, you know, since my fight. And, you know, I wouldn't be prepared for that. So, you know, obviously, you know, I want to feel good about, you know, doing that. So he ended up bringing up the Sprawl and the Burgh. And I told him, I was like, you know, I'll definitely do it if it comes to fruition. And he gave me a call, told me about it, and you know, sure enough, you know, here we are. So, as far as where I train, I do train over at Gracie HQ, Gracie headquarters,
Okay.
and then I also go to Gracie Tampa South under Matt Arroyo, and there's a lot of good talent there. I go there once a week, and you know, I really try to keep the same mindset that I had whenever I was at the Mat Factory. You know, I try to keep my foot on the gas. I try to push the pace and, you know, make sure that I'm in the best shape that I could possibly be in. And, you know, you know, just try to help guys get better and while trying to get better myself.
Well, I mean, that obviously makes a lot of sense. You're training at one of the probably premier names in BJJ. Gracie, obviously, that family has done so much. What was it? I mean, the Mat Factory is getting nationally known, already has had a fighter like Chris Dempsey go to the UFC. Do you think, and Isaac Greeley is, I love to bring this up, he's the only person in the 247 Fighting Championships Hall of Fame, and I feel like he should be in there 3 times. The way people talk about him,
yeah,
he's actually competing on this card, which I'm sure you're excited about. That's a huge deal. He's, I think, 47 years old and still one of the best master level black belts out there in jiu-jitsu. How did that translate from you training at the Mat Factory with all the talent, all the exciting, to get down to, in many ways, an arguably more well-known, kind of bigger, in some ways probably more intimidating gym like Gracie? Did you kind of have a smooth transition? Was a little bit awestruck with the names and the people training there?
you know, obviously, you know, Isaac he's a black belt in everything that he does. You know, he's a black belt chiropractor, he's a black belt, you know, jiu-jitsu practitioner, he's a black belt wrestler, and he's a black belt, you know, quality of a guy as well. But you know, as far as the gym goes, you know, making the transition from the Mat Factory down here, it was actually pretty easy. And you know, it was definitely a change. But you know, I think like when I first came down here, you know, I could probably ruffled a little bit of feathers because, you know, at the Mat Factory, like it's very intense training and it's like you go very hard and it's like, you know, if you walked in there and you didn't know any better, you would think people really did not like each other. But you know, after every single roll, you know, everybody's dapping each other up, giving each other hugs, talking about how to get better. And it's a true brother and sisterhood, you know, at the Mat Factory. And that's why people, you know, continuously come back, you know, from everywhere. You know, there's people that leave and always come back. And me being one of those people, I think that's just, you know, a tribute to, you know, Coach Isaac Greeley and, you know, some of the mentors that he's had throughout his career. I think he's been able to implement that with the Mat Factory. And, you know, it's transitioned into a lot of the people that go there, pretty much everybody that goes there, myself included. And, you know, it's a unique way. And, you know, I personally believe that, you know, that's really what helped me get to be decent at jiu-jitsu is, you know, showing up there every single day, taking my butt whoopings. And, you know, sooner or later, you know, if you show up and you take them, you know, you'll be delivering them, you know, at some point.
Sure. Yeah. And I think you're a very humble athlete, but obviously you're a high level. I'm sure the Gracie's gyms down there, the 2 that you showed up at, it's not often that they get sort of an unknown, you know, in jiu-jitsu. You're still kind of new to it and walk in with your athletic background and your focus, and obviously a lot of great compliments to the Mat Factory and how much they push. So for you, what's it been like as far as tournaments? I would assume the jiu-jitsu tournament world in Florida, because the Gracies are a big deal, is very busy down there. Have you been doing tournaments? What's it like down there?
Yeah, Chris Dempsey came down here a couple of months ago, and you know, he had a seminar that he was doing. I believe it was in Bradenton, Florida. And he, you know, he kind of asked me like, "When's the last time you competed?" And I'm like, "My fight." And well, it was actually there was one time after that, I believe Stouts had something and I was a part of that. But, I really don't compete all that much. I stay pretty busy. I have 2 children. My daughter, she told me that I need to give her a shout out, Kinsley, and then my son Amari. So I'm saying hello to them real fast. But as far as the transition goes and competing down here, I haven't done that. And it's just more so because of, I like the super fight kind of thing. The tournaments and this may be a lame reason as to why I don't do it, but I don't want to show up and wait at 8 o'clock in the morning and then wait until 4 o'clock to actually have my match. I'm 39 years old. I have 2 children, a family. So, I like to, be a little more cognizant of my time than, sitting around all day waiting for a tournament. But I do train a lot. I do train a lot. I get very good rounds in. So, I have no doubt that, I'll definitely be ready whenever July 14th rolls around.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And I think your priorities are what's important. Priorities make a man. And so it makes a lot of sense. You've already been in a 247 cage. I think cage matches, for jiu-jitsu is wonderful. Ryan Middleton's had this idea for years. This little thing called COVID got in the way, and they're back on track now. He's always known that jiu-jitsu tournaments are great, and you pointed out some of the flaws. Another flaw of a jiu-jitsu tournament, as great as they are, is it's hard to get that intensity of everybody there watching one fight. Because if people haven't been to jiu-jitsu tournaments, similar to wrestling tournaments, there might be 10 matches going on at one time. And sometimes even your own teammates don't get to watch you. I know when I was running Pursuit MMA, sometimes I tried my best, but sometimes people had to compete without even their corners there because it can get so chaotic. So I think the excitement of one match going on at a time, bigger level matches. We're having former 2-time title challenger at UFC level, Gray Maynard, coming. I mean, that is incredible, right? Gray Maynard's coming in to take on Isaac Greeley. I mean, so I think it is a big deal among jiu-jitsu to have these cage matches where it's got that MMA fight focus where every person in that crowd is there watching one event at a time. And I think that is just something that works better for you time-wise. It's an evening as opposed to a whole day. And it also kind of builds the excitement more like an MMA fight. And I'm super excited because you're living and training down in Tampa. This is a great time to say for all your fans and all the Gracie people and all the people you train with, for them to get either the 247 Live app on their mobile devices and then get the pay-per-view through the 247 Live app, or they can also do 247fighting.com. I know Ryan Middleton, the owner of 247, always points out that the app is really great and it can be casted onto TVs. So we always shout that out on the pay-per-view stream as it is. But I'm sure you'll also sell tickets to people to be there in person. Rovo Convention Center is where you fought before. But for those that are coming from a distance or going to be supporting you from a distance, the 247 Live app is a great one to have. And so hopefully you have a lot of support from all around the country.
For sure. It should be fun. I'm sure there'll be some people tuning in.
Absolutely. Now let's get to your matchup. Ian is your opponent. His last name starts with a B, and it's a fun one to say. But what are your thoughts coming in on this matchup and kind of more specifically what you expect out of yourself?
You know what? I'm just expecting to come in there with the Mat Factory mindset, and that's just going in there doing my best. And I don't know much about him, other than he trains at Indio. I know they have a great program up there, and they have a lot of fighters that have come out of there. I do believe they have some wrestlers as well. So I'm expecting him to come out and I'm expecting him to come out and try to win, and I'm going to do the same thing. So, I look forward to the challenge, and, hopefully I can, put together some different things that come out on top. But, at the end of the day, it's jiu-jitsu. It's something I love to do. And, I'm just looking forward to getting in there, competing, representing myself, my family, the gyms that I train at, and, the things that I've learned and the mindset that I've developed at the Mat Factory. So, I hope that I'm able to put that on full display and, come out with a win, July 14th.
Absolutely. And it makes a lot of sense. I know Jim Mooney, the matchmaker for 247, is blessed to have all these high-level gyms, Kama Worthy's gym, the MMA Academy. We've talked a lot about the Mat Factory, Indio Dojo. And I know Indio Dojo being run by a jiu-jitsu guy from Brazil. I'm sure they're going to take a lot of pride and excitement in jiu-jitsu. I think that's why it's so great that 247 is getting into jiu-jitsu, because there's a lot of athletes that only are going to take jiu-jitsu matches. Tanner Hall from Stout, that's another great gym in the area. He's got a lot of excitement around him. He's never going to do MMA, but he's a jiu-jitsu guy. So Ian, I'm going to say it, Benito. It sounds like a fairly straightforward last name is your opponent. I just remember B. So Ian Benito, and I think it is exciting when you've got local gyms able to match up against each other in jiu-jitsu. And I think most of these fights, if not all of them, most of the matches for jiu-jitsu are going to have the crowd rooting. The whole crowd's going to be involved. Sometimes in MMA, understandably, there's kind of a home field or an away field, but I think a lot of these matches, maybe not all, but a lot of these matches are hometown guy versus hometown guy, which you don't regularly get to put up in MMA, because a lot of the hometown gyms won't fight each other in MMA. The Mat Factory has an open policy to train a lot of fighters, and so they rarely, aren't going to take on a local guy in MMA. But it's different for jiu-jitsu, so it's just super, super exciting. I can't wait to see you again. I had the honor of calling your first amateur MMA fight. Now I have the honor of going to be calling your debut in BJJ sort of cage. That cage fight mindset. So it's been incredible having you on the show. I can't wait to see what the card is awesome. For people that use Tapology, get on there, search 247 Sprawl in the Burgh 1. It is like, I think 18 matches, maybe more. It's just going to be an incredible. Yeah, it's absolutely stacked. It's absolutely stacked. And so I really appreciate you coming on. I can't wait to see. Thanks for making the trip. I got to ask this because you're living in Tampa. Are you flying or driving? What's the game plan to kind of, you're what?
We're flying back. Yeah, we're coming back we're coming back here early July. And I got to go back to the Mat Factory and fine tune everything. I'm sure Isaac's gonna put me through some things, make sure that I'm ready. And and I'm looking forward to it. And I know Chris Dempsey was talking some trash on me, so we got some business to settle when I get back. So
whoa, you're gonna settle business.
No, but in all honesty, though, he's definitely he's somebody that I look up to, in the jiu-jitsu world. He's just a stand-up guy. Dempsey, Coach Matt Schaefer, Gina Tallarico, Jimmy Serra, Isaac, obviously. It's just it's a great place to be. You get great training, and I can't forget Eric McAlpine. He recently got his black belt, so congratulations to him. And like I said, I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to get back there and test my skills against the guys at the Mat Factory, because it's been a year since I've been there, so I'm sure they're gonna be coming for my head when I come back in a loving way. But I'm excited for it. So I'm looking forward to getting back, fine-tuning my skills, and then July 14th going out there and putting it all together for myself in the cage. And then hurrying up, running back there, and probably changing and coming out and being a fan, watching the rest of the people perform as well. So it's gonna be a good time.
That is going to be great. And I'm sure it'll be like a homecoming to your gym. The Mat Factory is like a family, like you pointed out. So it's kind of exciting that you are not only coming back to this area, but you're also to train with them. And I think the last time I counted, there was about 7 or 8 Mat Factory competitors on this card. So it really is a very heavy Mat Factory card, with, of course, the head of the Mat Factory competing in one of the featured bouts. So really an honor having you on. Can't wait to see how incredible Sprawl in the Burgh, all the competitors, best skills to everybody out there. I think it's really going to be impressive what this style of BJJ in a cage with sort of that super fight mindset. I think it's going to blow a lot of people's minds that might see BJJ, which I don't think is true, as sort of slow and not exciting. I think people are going to be blown away with how intense and exciting BJJ in this format really is. So thanks so much for coming on the show. You've been listening to Luke Basin with MMA Fancast, and first time guest of the show, hopefully more to come, Jermaine Moye. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's an honor. Thanks so much. Can't wait to see you July 14th. Sprawl in the Burgh 1, followed by Brawl in the Burgh 17 the next day at Monroeville Convention Center. Thanks again.